A scientist, a consultant, or a journalist, or an economist can act politically in these circumstances, not necessarily by subscribing to a political program or being a member of a political party, nor by being merely disinterested, but by demonstrating or insisting that a specific material, process, or event, a specific problem, if properly understood, should disturb existing ways of thinking about the ways in which the problem might be addressed, or should force us to address a problem that we hadn't recognized fully. In short, the generation of claims to knowledge may direct attention to new matters in relation to which political passions and differences can and maybe should focus and coalesce, which pose problems for governance, in other words. Secondly, as I've said, while public controversies about what is known or not known are common enough, there may also be disagreement about what such controversies are fundamentally about, or perhaps even whether there is a controversy at all that matters, or there are several. One reason for using the term situation rather than the more common term issue or dispute or controversy is that the notion of situation also conveys a sense of indeterminacy about what the bounds and significance of what any particular controversy is. Situations are not necessarily well-defined issues or controversies, although, of course, some agencies may want to define them in very specific ways, nor are they located in or confined in space and time. They have a spatiality and temporality, but not one which isn't fixed. Situations demand our attention for a time, but we aren't necessarily sure or don't necessarily agree about what they are or how long they will last. Situations may become highly intense or not. Situations matter, but we don't know how they matter. There's a nice way in which the term is used in American crime films. A situation is something the police have to attend to. We have a situation here. As the cop says, in stumbling on a crime scene, we have to deal with this, but we're not quite sure what the problem is. Moreover, or it becomes a matter of contestation, precisely what the problem is. Is it a problem of government debt or not, for example? Is it a problem of corruption or lack of competition or not? Moreover, while a specific issue or controversy or issue might appear to be self-contained, it is likely to only form part of an ongoing and dispersed series of negotiations, debates, and disputes that is not. While those matters considered disputes in public debate may only be taken as more or less distorted signs of long-standing situations that may be difficult to articulate, which may be quiet for a while, which may go underground, but are recognized nonetheless as lying behind events, and a common problem for anyone reading political events in another country is not knowing what the kind of underlying currents which re-emerge. Researchers, as well as political parties and activists, may focus on specific issues, recognizing that these provide immediate tactical opportunities that make sense in the context of broader strategies. Greenpeace, for example, I think is expert in generating such events, focusing on the particular in order to generate a general claim. Situations are not therefore in themselves necessarily local, regional, or global, or necessarily immediate or long-term in their significance, nor are they necessarily readily visible to outsiders all the time. Rather, the question of their spatiality and temporality is itself in play and at issue. The question of what should be included as part of the situation, its history and future, its urgency, its spatial dispersion and temporal extension, the significance of particular sites is integral to the situation. the scope of the situation. It does not make sense to draw a clear distinction between local and global situations, for even the most apparently local processes can resonate in distant locations and at other times, nor are situations necessarily distinct. They might contain each other and interfere. The scale and topology of a situation, its duration and shifting intensity, its constituents, its history, its privileged sites, its identity and multiplicity, its relevance for particular groups or classes, and its visibility cannot be assumed. So situations are not static locations, isolated events or occasions. They are relations in motion, progressively actualized. They contain multiple sites and events, the direction and extent of which is not given and may lead to a vast new chain of events. The financial crisis had, in different countries, has had knock-on effects. In the UK, creating unexpectedly a huge explosion of conflict within universities, as you may be aware. Situations are likely to mutate and take multiple forms, which may become progressively more or less visible, demanding more or less attention. Situations demand our attention, but we're not sure for how long or where. And the implications for innovation in governments that different actors draw from their analysis of the situation are likely to be various and competing. It seems to me a key problem facing those concerned to promote transnational governance is the variability of the situations in which governance is expected to respond to in different locations. Indeed, the question of what innovations in governance are necessary may become part of a controversy, part of a situation, indeed are absolutely central to it. Many of the fiercest knowledge controversies that exist today about financial markets, pollution, climate change, are also turn out to be controversies about governance, about what forms of governance have worked and what have not, and what could work. So just as political situations are very uneven in their geographical spread and temporal dispersion, so are disputes about innovation in governance. Fourthly, the domain of what is taken to be political is itself a political matter. If, to quote Jeremy Waldron, the prospect of persisting disagreement is one of the elementary conditions of modern politics, then there will also be disagreement about what should or should not be considered a matter of collective significance, about which it matters to disagree, about what it might matter to govern and how might it be possible to govern. The range of problems and objects that are taken to be political both shifts and is contested. The question of the collective or the public to which a problem should matter may itself be in question. And the range of sites in which disagreements can be articulated can move far beyond the institutions of national government and parliamentary democracy to include the streets, factories, laboratories, international institutions, and so on. Rather than assume either that political disputes are necessarily directed towards the institutions of the state or to be found everywhere, the analyst of political situations needs to attend to the ways in which to the historically and geographically contingent ways in which domains, events, and materials can be rendered into problems and issues about which it matters to differ. Political situations can provoke unexpected innovations in governance. Fifthly, an analysis of political situations needs to address the ways in which physical and biochemical processes, whether they are diseases, weather, new technologies, climate change, animal species, or mineral resources, may play both a critical and sometimes unpredictable part in political life. Materials should not be thought of as a stable ground on which instabilities generated by disputes between human political actors can be played out. Rather, they form an integral part of evolving political situations.